Welcome to my channel Valuable Coins, All World. If you've ever wondered if those old coins you have lying around could be worth a fortune, you're in the right place. In today's video, we're diving into some of the rarest US coins, revealing their jaw-dropping values that will leave you amazed. Stick with us till the end. You won't want to miss what these hidden treasures could be worth. Let's get started. Top 1. Imagine this. A simple coin that once jingled in the pockets of Americans during the bustling year of 1965, a quarter that may have paid for a cup of coffee or a newspaper, now holds a secret so valuable that it could change your life. The 1965 Washington quarter dollar, an ordinary-looking piece of metal, has become the subject of intense fascination among collectors and treasure hunters alike. It's not just about age or nostalgia, it's about the rare, almost mythical traits that make one version of this quarter worth far more than its face value. In fact, some examples have sold for small fortunes, all because of tiny details that went unnoticed for years. To understand the significance of this coin, we need to rewind history a bit. The year 1965 was pivotal for American coinage. It was the first year after the United States Mint made a critical decision to eliminate silver from circulating quarters due to the rising cost of silver bullion. Prior to 1965, quarters contained 90% silver. But starting that year, the composition changed to a copper-nickel clad, dramatically altering not just the metal content, but also the value and collectability of these coins over time. Now, here's where it gets exciting. Amid the mass production of clad quarters, a few incredibly rare pieces were mistakenly struck using silver planchets, blanks left over from the previous year. These rare errors, known as transitional errors, are among the most valuable and sought-after coins in American numismatic history. Why? Because they never should have existed. It was an accident, a fluke, a hidden gem created in the chaos of change. There's more. Some 1965 quarters were struck with extraordinary sharpness, on specially prepared planchets, or with proof-like surfaces that sparkle under magnification. These coins, especially in near-perfect mint state condition, are considered rarities. The higher the grade, the more valuable they become. Coins graded MS67 and above by major grading services like PCGS or NGC are few and far between, and collectors will pay staggering amounts to add them to their collections. But how do you know if your 1965 quarter is one of these rare varieties? First, weight matters. A silver quarter weighs slightly more than a clad one. A high-precision scale can make the difference. Then there's the sound test. Silver quarters have a distinct ring compared to the duller tone of clad coins. But to be sure, coin experts rely on professional grading and authentication. If you suspect you have something special, it's worth the effort to get it evaluated. Let's not forget the emotional power behind coins like this. Every scratch, edge, and mark tells a story. It may have passed through countless hands, traveled across states, sat in jars or drawers, only to emerge decades later as a relic of historical importance. This is what drives collectors, this sense of connection to a time and place, wrapped in metal and mystery. And for one very lucky individual, that mystery transformed into reality. A pristine 1965 Washington quarter dollar, with all the rare traits, error, condition, and authenticity, was discovered and later auctioned in an elite numismatic event. Bidding escalated quickly, driven by collectors and investors who knew exactly what they were looking at. By the time the gavel fell, the final price had reached an astonishing $233,000. Yes, you heard that right. A coin worth 25 cents when it was minted sold for $233,000. This isn't just a story of rare coins, it's a reminder that history and value can hide in the most unexpected places. So, the next time you're handed a quarter, don't just toss it aside. Look closely. You could be holding a piece of American history and a treasure beyond imagination. Top 2. Every now and then, something incredibly valuable hides in plain sight, blending in with the ordinary until a sharp-eyed individual recognizes its true worth. That's exactly the case with a coin many people have held in their hands, spun at a gas station, dropped into a vending machine, or forgotten in a jar on a dusty shelf, the 1990 Washington quarter dollar from the United States of America. At first glance, it seems like just another standard quarter, bearing the familiar image of George Washington on the obverse and the stately eagle design on the reverse. But for collectors, coin enthusiasts, and treasure hunters alike, the 1990 Washington quarter is more than pocket change. It's a coin shrouded in mystery, historical significance, and the potential for a life-changing reward. The Washington quarter has been a pillar of American coinage since 1932, introduced in honor of the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Over the decades, its design and composition have changed, reflecting economic needs, technological improvements, and even political themes. But what makes the 1990 edition so fascinating isn't necessarily any dramatic visual shift. It's the rare production errors and exceptional condition pieces that drive its value through the roof. While millions of quarters were minted that year, a very small number stand out due to unintentional minting mistakes or pristine preservation that defies the wear and tear of circulation. These rare specimens, barely touched by human hands and often never even released for public use, are what collectors are truly after. In particular, certain 1990 quarters have surfaced that were struck on planchets intended for other coins or exhibit incredibly rare die errors. These mistakes, like off-center strikes, double dies, missing layers, or even being struck on foreign coin blanks, are like finding gold dust in a river. Most people wouldn't notice these quirks unless they were trained to look, but those who do can be rewarded beyond their wildest expectations. The U.S. Mint, despite its advanced machinery and quality control, occasionally allows these rare coins to slip into circulation, and that's where the excitement begins. Imagine finding such a quarter in a roll from the bank or your change from a coffee purchase. That small moment could lead to an incredible discovery, but rarity alone doesn't account for the full story. Condition is everything in numismatics, and when a coin like the 1990 Washington quarter is discovered in near-flawless mint state condition, graded MS-67, MS-68, or even higher, it becomes exponentially more valuable. That's because quarters in everyday use collect scratches, dings, and grime almost immediately. Finding one that has avoided this fate for over 3 decades is like stumbling upon a time machine, a pristine artifact from the past. These high-grade coins are preserved by collectors or discovered in forgotten mint sets, and they are fiercely sought after at auctions and in private sales. The rise in value of these quarters isn't just a trend. It reflects a broader appreciation for American history, artistry, and the thrill of collecting. Coins like the 1990 Washington quarter connect us to the craftsmanship of the U.S. Mint and the everyday stories of people who've handled them. For some, it's about completing a set. For others, it's about the thrill of the hunt. But for a lucky few, it becomes a story of unexpected fortune, an incredible transformation of a simple coin into a treasure worth more than its weight in gold. One such example of the 1990 Washington quarter, discovered in immaculate condition and bearing unique minting characteristics, became the star of a major numismatic auction. As collectors recognized its rarity and flawless preservation, the bidding soared higher and higher. And when the final gavel fell, this unassuming 25-cent piece had been sold for an astonishing sum, $160,000. Yes, you heard that right. A coin once worth just 25 cents changed hands for $160,000. So next time you get a quarter back in change, don't be too quick to spend it. Look closely, check the year, and consider the story it might hold. You might just be holding the next great hidden treasure in your very own hand. Top 3. In the vast world of coin collecting, some treasures shine brighter not just for their age or design, but for the stories they carry and the astonishing values they can fetch in the right hands. One such hidden gem lies quietly among the countless coins passed from palm to palm over the years. The 1979 Washington quarter dollar, minted in the United States of America. To most people, it's just another piece of metal used for everyday transactions. But beneath its unassuming surface lies a fascinating history, rare features, and the potential to change someone's fortune in the blink of an eye. Yes, this common-looking quarter can be worth far more than anyone might expect. And today, we're going to uncover why this particular year stands out in the world of valuable American currency. Let's begin with a bit of context. The Washington quarter has been a cornerstone of American coinage since its introduction in 1932. Designed to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, the quarter featured a noble profile of the first U.S. president on the obverse, a design by John Flanagan that became iconic in the decades that followed. The reverse side carried the regal image of an eagle with wings outspread, a symbol of American strength and liberty. This design remained largely untouched for decades, including in 1979, when millions of these quarters were produced and put into circulation. At first glance, there is nothing about the 1979 issue that screams valuable to the average person. But for collectors and numismatic experts, certain details make this coin an object of obsession. One of the most compelling reasons the 1979 Washington quarter draws such attention is due to the anomalies that occurred during the minting process. While the bulk of these coins were minted perfectly, some extraordinary errors slipped through the cracks, errors that transformed them into rare collectibles worth thousands. Among the most sought-after variations are those with double die obverse, off-center strikes, broad strikes, and even transitional planchet errors. In some astonishing cases, 1979 quarters have been discovered with the outer clad layer missing on one side, exposing the copper core beneath, a striking and unusual appearance that instantly raises its desirability and value. Errors like these don't just occur randomly. They're the result of mechanical issues, die misalignments, or incorrect planchets being fed into presses at the U.S. Mint. They are rare, and because of that rarity, they become valuable. But it's not just errors that make this coin special. Condition plays an equally important role in determining value. Most coins enter circulation and quickly show signs of wear, scratches, dings, and fading details that reduce their worth. However, a small number of 1,979 quarters were preserved in pristine condition, never spending a day in a pocket, cash register, or piggy bank. These coins, especially those graded at the highest mint state levels like MS-67 or MS-68, are highly prized. They exhibit sharp, detailed features, lustrous surfaces, and virtually no imperfections under magnification. Such a coin, flawless and brilliant despite being over 4 decades old, stands as a testament to the perfection of American minting and the dedication of collectors who preserve them. Another factor that adds to the allure of the 1979 Washington quarter is nostalgia. It represents a time of transition in America, culturally, politically, and economically. Coins minted during this era often hold sentimental value for people who grew up during the late 70s and early 80s. For some, discovering a rare 1979 quarter is more than a financial opportunity. It's a way to connect to their past, to a simpler time when coins were not only a means of exchange, but also a part of everyday life with stories attached to every transaction. Now imagine this: a coin that might have been overlooked in your childhood, casually spent on candy or soda, possibly resting in a jar at your grandparents' house or lying forgotten in a drawer. Today, that same coin could be a financial game changer. Numismatic auctions across the country have revealed staggering prices for exceptional specimens of the 1979 Washington quarter. And among those, one particular coin, gleaming in top condition and bearing the marks of a rare minting error, stole the spotlight and shocked collectors everywhere when it sold for a jaw-dropping amount: $210,000. Yes, a single 1979 Washington quarter dollar, no larger than the tip of your thumb, realized a value of $210,000. That's the incredible potential hiding within the pocket change we so often take for granted. So next time you sort through your coins, take a closer look. You just might be holding a piece of American history that could transform your fortune. Top 4. In the world of coin collecting, where passion meets history and small metal pieces turn into treasures, few coins capture attention quite like the Washington quarter. Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating story of one particular edition that has surprised collectors, stunned auction houses, and possibly even sat unnoticed in the hands of ordinary people: the 1995 Washington quarter dollar from the United States of America. At first glance, this coin may seem like just another piece of spare change, an everyday item passed from hand to hand in countless transactions over the years. But behind that modest appearance lies a story rich in value, history, and mystery. Because this seemingly ordinary 25-cent piece has a hidden potential, one that could make it worth a life-changing fortune to the right person who recognizes its worth. The Washington quarter, featuring the dignified portrait of America's first president George Washington on the obverse, has been a staple of U.S. currency since 1932. Over the decades, it has undergone various design changes, metal composition adjustments, and minting refinements. By the time the 1990s arrived, the U.S. Mint was operating with advanced technology and higher standards for quality. Yet even with modern procedures, no production process is perfect. That's what makes the 1995 Washington quarter so captivating. Because in a sea of millions, a few coins emerged that were far from ordinary. For collectors and numismatic enthusiasts, the 1995 quarter stands out for several key reasons. First, the errors. Yes, minting mistakes. These are the anomalies that turn everyday coins into coveted rarities. In 1995, some quarters were struck with doubled dies, leading to a shadow-like effect on inscriptions such as Liberty or In God We Trust. These doubled die quarters are not only visually striking, but are considered prized finds in the coin world. Additionally, some 1995 quarters were struck on the wrong planchets, such as a dime or foreign coin base, resulting in unusual sizes, weights, or colorations. Others may feature off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or misaligned dies. Each of these errors is like a fingerprint, unique, rare, and impossible to replicate, making them extremely valuable to collectors who understand their significance. Then comes the matter of condition, and here's where things become even more interesting. Most coins, once released into circulation, begin their slow decline. They pick up scratches, nicks, and wear from the everyday hustle of wallets, vending machines, and pockets. However, a select few manage to escape this fate. These coins, preserved in pristine condition since the moment they left the mint, are graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC and can achieve mint state grades of 67 or higher. The higher the grade, the greater the rarity. And when you combine that rarity with one of the previously mentioned errors, you have a coin that doesn't just break expectations, it shatters them. The 1995 quarter also sits at an interesting historical juncture. It was minted just a few years before the launch of the 50-state quarters program, which began in 1999 and fundamentally changed the way Americans looked at their pocket change. In some ways, the 1995 quarter represents the end of an era, a final chapter in a long-running design before the nation began celebrating its diversity and geography through coinage. That transitional period makes the 1995 edition even more appealing to those who value the story behind the currency as much as the metal itself. But perhaps the most incredible part of this story is what can happen when the right coin ends up in the right hands. Across the country, rare coins continue to surface in the most unexpected places: estate sales, coin rolls, flea markets, even change jars at home. The key is knowing what to look for, and the 1995 Washington quarter is a perfect example of how hidden value can be waiting in plain sight. A coin like this, especially one with a recognized error and in flawless mint state condition, can cause a storm at auction. Collectors and investors alike understand that such a coin is more than just a collectible. It's a piece of history, a work of art, and a financial asset all rolled into one. So, what could this humble 25-cent piece possibly be worth if all the right elements align? If you were lucky enough to discover a 1995 Washington quarter that exhibits a significant mint error, preserved in near-perfect condition, authenticated and graded by experts, you might be holding something truly extraordinary. In fact, such a coin has already made headlines, turning heads and generating buzz when it commanded a breathtaking final price of $140,000. Yes, you heard that right. A quarter that once could have bought a pack of gum now stands as a symbol of rare value and numismatic magic, worth $140,000. So before you spend that next quarter, take a closer look. It just might be the treasure you never expected. Top 5. In the vast and endlessly fascinating world of coin collecting, there are certain pieces that rise above the rest, not just because of their age, but because of the incredible stories they carry and the surprising fortunes they can yield. Among these gems is a coin that many Americans have held in their hands without a second thought: the Washington quarter dollar. But today, we aren't talking about just any quarter. We're diving into a coin that stirs the hearts of numismatists and history lovers alike. That coin is the Washington quarter dollar, dated 1967. Though it may appear to be just another silver-toned piece of metal, the 1967 quarter hides an extraordinary legacy, and under the right circumstances, it can hold a value that defies expectations and astonishes even the most seasoned collectors. To appreciate this coin's value, we need to understand the context in which it was born. The year 1967 was a pivotal moment in U.S. coinage history. The mint was still recovering from the coin shortage crisis of the early 1960s, a time when Americans were hoarding silver coins in anticipation of rising metal values. In response, the government made a major decision to remove silver from circulating dimes and quarters. This made the 1967 quarter one of the earlier issues of the modern clad coinage, composed of a copper-nickel blend instead of the traditional 90% silver. While millions of these coins were minted and distributed nationwide, only a tiny number managed to survive in exceptional condition. And even fewer were struck with unique errors or rare qualities that make them treasures today. One of the reasons the 1967 Washington quarter has captured the imagination of collectors is because it was issued during a period when the U.S. Mint was experimenting with new production techniques. This was also a year when no mint marks were placed on coins to discourage collecting, and as a result, tracking mint origins and anomalies became more complicated and more interesting. The absence of mint marks adds an air of mystery to each coin from this year, leaving collectors to dig deeper, examine closer, and question every small detail in search of that elusive gem. Now, let's talk about what makes certain 1967 quarters so valuable. Errors, misstrikes, and unusual variations are like golden tickets in the numismatic world. A doubled die obverse, where the lettering or details appear doubled due to misalignment in the minting process, is one such error that can elevate the coin's status tremendously. Other variations include off-center strikes, where the design is misaligned, creating a dramatic and eye-catching look. There have even been documented instances of 1967 quarters being struck on silver planchets left over from earlier years. These rare silver 1967 quarters are exceptionally scarce and worth a small fortune. And let's not forget about condition. A coin's grade, its level of preservation, is everything. The fewer marks, scratches, and signs of circulation a coin has, the more desirable it becomes to collectors and investors alike. Imagine finding a 1967 Washington quarter that not only has a recognized mint error, but is also in pristine, uncirculated condition. These coins, when submitted for grading, can receive the prestigious mint state ratings from reputable services like PCGS or NGC. A high grade like MS 67 or above can significantly boost a coin's market value, especially when paired with a known error. And while the average 1967 quarter might fetch a small premium, those rare and remarkable examples stand in a category all their own. The 1967 Washington quarter is more than just a quarter. It's a time capsule from a changing era in American coinage. It speaks to a moment of innovation, transition, and adaptation. It's a reminder that even the most common objects in our lives can hold stories of great importance and value. And that's what keeps collectors searching, sorting through jars, attending coin shows, and bidding at auctions. It's not just about the metal. It's about the mystery, the rarity, and the thrill of discovery. So, if you ever come across a 1967 Washington quarter, whether tucked away in an old drawer, passed down in a collection, or resting in a roll of change, don't dismiss it too quickly. Take a closer look. Examine its condition, its strike, and any unusual characteristics. Because under the right circumstances, with the right combination of rarity, error, and preservation, this coin can command an astonishing price. In fact, one such remarkable 1967 Washington quarter, featuring a rare minting anomaly and preserved in stunning condition, was valued at an incredible sum of $220,000. Yes, a simple quarter, once used to buy candy or make a phone call, now stands as a symbol of immense historical worth and financial surprise. So keep your eyes open. You never know when history and fortune might be hiding in your very own pocket.